Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Ayers, and I'm here with Mr. Elise and Mike. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Frankie Xavier. And here we are. We are on our number 2 podcast. And with schools opening back up, we are just getting outlook from, a couple teachers, principal, and, Frankie, just to let you know that we're, I think you have a long road ahead of you this school year, but again, you being a teacher, thank you for everything you do.
Absolutely.
And thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So we're just kind of wanting to, there's lots of parents out there like us. So I don't know if you know, Mike has 6 kids. I have 3 kids. And so we're definitely in the midst of all what parents are going through right now in terms of trying to prepare for the new school year, just like teachers are, and just trying to get an idea of what to expect. And so we just wanted to start off by getting, your opinion on the 100% virtual, hybrid, and then 100% in class learning, and then just kind of get your view on your plans on what you're going to be doing as a teacher this year.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as my opinion to begin with, from a teaching perspective, I think ideally we would be 100% in person. That's just what we're used to, and that's just what we're familiar with doing. And, my school made a lot of adjustments, and we bought all Chromebooks for every individual student, and we prepared in a lot of different ways for it, but we're still no one's really prepared to do 100% virtual.
Oh, yeah.
And so from a teaching perspective, I definitely would want 100% in person. I think it's just going to be best for the kids. It's going to be best for the teachers. But as far as the hybrid thing, I've always kind of been of the belief personally, I would rather either do 100% remote or 100% in person. But a hybrid thing almost seems more challenging than anything else to me. As you guys mentioned, you're parents, I'm a parent myself. We actually homeschool my daughter, and my son's only 2, so he's not old enough to be in school anyway. But I can't imagine my 6-year-old daughter if she was in school one day and then not in school the next day, and then that seems harder than her just being home all the time. So
yeah,
I agree.
As far as our plans, currently my school is in a district where we're going to be 100% remote. They say through the first quarter as of right now. So
okay, so you guys are planning on just doing remote. Do you feel like you and other teachers have been given the resources that you need to make things successful for that time? I know with, last year when this whole thing hit, it was everybody had the rug pulled out from underneath them. They weren't really prepared. Do you feel like things are better this time around?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like we are. I mean, in the spring, I don't think anyone was prepared there, and I don't think there was any way for anyone to be prepared.
Definitely.
And everyone just kind of was patching it up as best they could. But I definitely think from a teacher's perspective, I feel like I've been given all the resources I need. I think what's just going to be tough with the remote is that, I'm going to be teaching all my classes are going to have 30 kids where I don't know where they're at. I don't have any idea how good their internet access is. I don't know if they're going to be one of 5 kids trying to get access to the internet and access classes. So I think my school's provided all they can. But there's obviously just those things that are impossible for anyone to 100% guarantee will be working well. So
definitely. So in terms of cohorts, have you guys in your district talked about cohorts and what that entails?
Yeah, so our individual school, it's kind of interesting. We had a virtual town hall, I want to say it was 3 weeks ago today. And at that point, we were going to go back in person, and we were going to have these cohorts, and everyone was going to, at least for the school I work at is actually a K-12 school. And so for kindergarten through 8th grade, the kids were just going to be with the same group of kids all day. They're going to eat lunch in the same room with those kids. Recess would only be with those kids. And then their specials would be done where the teachers came to their rooms instead of them going to the gym or going to the art room. And then the high school was a little different. They were going to actually transfer in between classes and kind of do what they wanted to do. So, yeah, that's kind of what we were planning on. And then I think it was 3 days after we had that meeting is when the district board meeting called it and said, we're not going back. So.
I think that's been the hardest thing for parents and teachers is just it's a constant change in direction. And I can only imagine how that is from a teacher's side. I know it's hard from a parent's side just because, you know, we're trying to figure out how we're going to work everything out. But also from a teacher's perspective, how have you been handling that on a personal level?
It's tough. I like to think of myself as fairly laid back with the changes in teaching in general. So
that's good.
Yeah, I'm trying not to complain or get too caught up in it. But you're right. I mean, it's been tough. Like, I think, you know, it was about a month ago, we got an email kind of going through the guidelines, and it was going to be masks as long as we couldn't keep 6 feet of distance. And then it turned into, okay, masks 100% of the time. And then it turned into the cohorts, and then it turned into no school. So it's just been a crazy progression. And then, you know, from a teacher's perspective, I like to try to get the whole year planned out and know what it is I'm doing. And I mean, heck, even for example, I'm teaching AP US History. And so there's a specific date that the test is scheduled for in May of 2021. And I need to make sure I get everything taught by then. And so all these changes just makes it that much more difficult to make sure I'm doing what I need to do and getting all the materials for the kids.
So what is your request? I don't know. I would just, as a teacher, you know, what do you request of parents in this situation? And, you know, what can we do to help you out with this whole thing? I don't know how else to explain that.
No, I know. That's a really tough question. It's hard because I think in many ways I sympathize more with the parents than with the teachers in this case. Like, you know, I know even at our school that some parents have been pretty upset that 3 weeks before school is when they were notified that we weren't going back. And so I don't really know what to say in that situation. Like, that's not fair to you. And I don't even know. I mean, I don't know how you can help that. I guess I would just say be patient with us as teachers and know that like we are trying to figure this all out ourselves. And don't expect it to look like normal school because it's just not going to.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a pretty well asked. I mean, because I'm not going to lie to you. I am one of those, you know, frustrated parents, but not at the teachers, but just at, you know, all of the school systems, like my individual school district. You know, it's just they literally waited a week and a half before school starts to make a decision. And it's, you know, I can only imagine what it is for teachers because like you said, you like to have the year planned out. And then 3 weeks before school starts, it's like, hey, okay, this is what we're going to do. Good luck. You know, and it's I'm upset at the school system for not having, you know, thinking things through and having things ready for the teachers, of course, but also for us parents, because honestly, I worry about I just want to be able to worry about my kid. I don't want to, you know, I can't help but worry about the teachers as well, because, you know, there came a point where teachers weren't happy about what's going on. And so like, if my kid's teacher is upset about this whole thing, you know, I just feel it's just a normal instinct that, hey, you know, the teacher's not going to give the 150%, you know, to teach my kid. And, you know, it's just a lot to ask of, you know, the teachers to just,
I think it's a really crappy situation.
It's even overwhelming to even talk about it, to be honest with you.
I know, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. We're starting classes next week. I was just going to comment on how tough it is. Like, but we're starting classes next week, and I feel like every time I look back at my lesson plans, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that. I forgot to do that, just because I don't have, I don't know, everything has to be ready online in this format I've never really used before, and it's just tough. But
Yeah.
I was also going to say, and I don't know if you guys, as a teacher, and I think as a parent, and you guys could probably agree, I also would just appreciate if the schools and the districts had a rationale for their decisions. It feels like they're constantly changing things, and they say, well, we're going to change with the science, but then nothing changes, but they're changing. And it just doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the biggest confusion. I think that's what's causing the most confusion is just, like, what do you you can't plan. You don't know what's going to happen from one week to the next week.
Frankie, let me ask, like, on a normal school year, before it starts, like, how much time in advance do you actually start planning for your upcoming school year?
I mean, typically for me, I definitely it's hard to quantify that because over the summer, like, I'll just spend some days here and there planning and getting things ready. So it's not like I necessarily say, okay, I'm 3 weeks out and I need to start doing it.
Oh, so
It's
you just
honestly
do it
kind of
little by little by little by little over the entire summer. Right.
Yeah, like I'll sit there and spend a couple hours and, plan out my course for U.S. history, or then the next day I'll plan out a little bit more. And yeah, but I mean, I definitely was planning out for this year from like June on. And so,
Actually, Frankie, I have a question for you.
okay.
So, are you prepared for, like, well, hopefully that all the parents are going to try and, because you have parents that have to work, but at the same time, we also have to trust our kids to, be in school, basically.
Right.
And, are you one of the teachers that are willing to communicate with all the parents that are, like, if a child doesn't show up to, virtual class, or will you be reaching out to those parents and letting them know that? Or, how does, just asking from parental experience.
I think if students are just habitually not showing up, that's definitely something I'll just contact the parents about.
That's good, because I don't know, like last year my kid decided she's 10, so she was in 5th grade, and she decided while I was at work when they started the whole virtual thing, she missed a lot of classes, but the teacher never let me know. And I understand this is a new thing, but at the same time, it's I just don't know where some teachers stand, and because some teachers might be like, wow, I'm not a babysitter, but this basically that's what I was told, like, last year by her teacher. So, and I was kind of like, look, I'm new to this just like you. I'm not expecting much, but if my kid habitually doesn't show up to class, I would like to definitely know. But that's because it's a lot. Like Elise and I were talking, it's a lot to ask a kid to show up to class on, virtually every day, and us parents having to. I mean, we can't quit our jobs and stay home, so we're putting a lot of trust in our kids. And,
if you guys quit your jobs, who would bring this wonderful content to people?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
see?
thank you. You have
One
faith in
person
us.
appreciates what we're doing.
So you just have the best guests on here. So.
There you go. See? I see what you did there.
So how do you feel about that? I mean, I know that's because it's a lot to ask, parents, it's a lot to ask of their kids to do that. But then at the same time, you have 30 students in a classroom. So from a teacher's perspective, how do you feel about that situation?
I know, honestly, you're asking questions I haven't really thought of much, because I'm just like trying to get everything on paper, or I guess virtual,
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, like it's difficult to get, because I teach middle and high school. It's hard to have 100% student engagement in the classroom. And so the idea of like it being remote now and they're miles away, that sounds, I don't even know how that's going to be possible to do that. But to an extent too, I saw a lot of kids who weren't very motivated to participate and to do their work. When we did remote in the spring, they were some of the top performing students because were able to go at their own pace and were able to kind of just do stuff when they found time. So
that is really interesting.
It's honestly kind of there's some silver linings to it, I think, but it definitely is challenging from a teacher's perspective to try to be like, what, to get every kid doing stuff. And I don't want to be like, why aren't the parents doing stuff? Because like you guys referenced, I mean, you're at work. This is a brand new thing. So
yeah, that was actually a subject we brought up with the principal that we just interviewed, was just the importance that we're finding between, the help between teachers and parents. Instead of us being, well, why aren't they doing this? And why aren't they doing that? It's more of like this newfound, we need to support each other because we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows how we're going to do it. We're just doing the best we can with what we have at this time. So have you had any concerns about your students and feeling that, the levels that they're at, maybe they're not on track as they should be with the whole, pandemic and everything? Like, how are you going about as a teacher to get them back on track? I know that's a hard question because school hasn't really started yet. And
yeah, I mean, that is a really tough thing because I know that was a concern people had in the spring of like, if we don't do school for the next couple months, like these kids are going to be behind. And I was kind of on the exact opposite end of the spectrum in the spring and thought, this is such unprecedented times, and asking kids to get work done is a little unfair. But yeah, I mean, to your point, they have had a summer off, and even the fourth quarter of last year was done online, and they definitely missed content, compared to a normal school year. So as far as getting them caught up, I mean, I'm trying to treat a lot of what I'm teaching as what I would be doing if they were in person. And so I'm hoping that I can do the best I can to kind of get them caught up. But I think I also need to kind of taper my expectations a little bit and just realize that we're probably not going to get to where I want to get to just because it's such an unusual year. And I would say, kids, and maybe this is where parents can understand too, like if your kid doesn't learn every single thing that they're expected to learn, like it's okay.
Yeah.
And don't think that they're like ruined for life because they didn't finish their math textbook or whatever. Like it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a bad dad. Sometimes I like over the summer, I've been thinking that, man. I'm just like, oh my goodness, she was so smart. She was second place in the spelling bee. Now it's all gone. It's all gone. But I mean, that is great advice because honestly, I've never thought about that. Like even when you said, you were on the opposite side of the spectrum about, asking the kids to get all this work done, during this time that nobody has experienced before. It's kind of like, that's a lot to ask. But I never really thought about it until you just said something about, that is actually a lot to ask because it's not only new for us, but it's also new for the young kids, and it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
it's refreshing to hear that from a teacher too, because I think as parents, we feel like we have this pressure to have the kids be on the level that they were, or, make sure that they're getting their best schooling. And so from your perspective to say, it's going to be okay. It's not as big of a deal maybe as we're making it. It is refreshing. So,
he just calmed me down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let
you
That's a
Good
breathe a
way to
little.
calm me down.
So just to end it off, I mean, how are you? Is there certain things that your school is doing to help with the mental state of kids right now and coming back? Because I know that's been probably one of the bigger concerns for parents as well is just the state of the kids that have been at home. I mean, the craziness that's happening in the world. I mean, how are you guys as teachers, and is your school giving you resources to help kids mentally in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, my school just naturally, in every circumstance, we have a social worker and a school counselor and a mental health team, and they've always kind of been pretty on top of things as far as identifying students with any mental health issues and providing those interventions. And so I know in the spring, like, they were very active about calling those families and keeping up with meeting with those kids, and even doing so virtual. And I think they're going to continue doing that in the fall and offer those supports. The tough thing is, like, there's a lot of kids who kind of, to your point, like, who may not have had any mental health difficulties in the spring, but this is, I mean, I know even myself, I feel a lot more anxious and just stressed than I felt. And I got to imagine there's some kids who have never shown any of those signs who now are feeling them. So I don't know exactly how we're going to address those things. But I know, like I said, we do have those the mental health team that's going to offer support, and we have a daily advisement class where we'll check in just on, like, a smaller group of students. And so hopefully those things will help and provide a little normalcy and just someone to talk to.
That's good. Yeah, that's good that you guys have those resources. I think it's important just in general, but with this whole thing, it's even more important for kids to have that support.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with before we end the interview? Any advice or just anything in general that you'd like to leave us with before we end?
He did. He wanted people to work with him. Work with us, parents.
Work with us. Okay. So just give you guys a little grace in the process.
Yeah. I think just realize that we're all struggling to figure this out, and we're trying our hardest to get everything ready. So but also, like I said too, just don't expect normalcy with school, and just hope that your kid gets something out of it, but not necessarily the normal amount. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we would love to, I think we're going to get caught back up with, the people that we're interviewing in a few months. So just to kind of see, right now we're talking about what's supposedly going to happen, and it would be great to kind of come back and meet in a few months and see what's been happening and how it's been going for you. So would you be interested in doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a blast. So.
Awesome.
And see how gray your hair gets too.
Yeah, that's what the principal said.
I know it's going to be stressful for you. So
I know. Just like last week, my wife was commenting on my gray hairs coming in.
You're not the only one, I promise.
Thank you we greatly appreciate you coming on, Frankie, and just
thank you very
having
much.
a conversation. As us as parents and our audience that are parents just want to know the same things we do. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, and
thank you guys.
Best of luck to you,
Yes.
and we will speak to you in a few months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Guys.
Thanks,
Take care.
Frankie. Bye.
Bye.